Hey, welcome back. Today we are revisiting an age-old topic here on my channel, which is powder foundation. Most of you know, most of you have seen at least one of my powder foundation or bare mineral related tutorials. So I wanted to revisit a topic that I haven't fully addressed, I would say, on my channel, and that's how to get your powder foundation to look like a liquid foundation. I get that question a lot in my pictures and just in real life. People don't always believe that I'm wearing powder. So I want to touch on about 5 different tips you can do to make your powder foundation or to make powder foundation in general look a little bit more emollient, a little bit more skin-like, just some things that you might not be incorporating into your routine. So let's start. The first is pretty important, and I always talk about this in my powder foundation videos, and that is to prep the skin accordingly. You do have to do a little bit more back work with powder foundation, but once you get the hang of it and the steps down, honestly, sometimes on me, it looks way better than most of my liquid foundations. So for me, I have pretty normal to dry skin. So it's important for me to hydrate my skin, to moisturize, and to lay down just some type of hydrating base. Now, obviously, if you are oily or you have a little bit more acne prone skin or problematic skin, I would definitely suggest something that is obviously mattifying as far as moisturizer goes, and then maybe something like a smoothing primer or a mattifying primer. So I have already moisturized my skin and applied eye cream. That's normally what I do for my prep work. Primer for me is a little unnecessary. It's just an unnecessary layer on my skin, so I do not use primer. But again, just analyze, what works best for your skin type. So the second recommendation, and this is normally the hardest, especially if you're new to powder foundation or you just feel like you've never gotten the hang of it, and that's to find the right powder foundation for your skin type. There are so many powder foundations out on the market. There's ones that are radiant, ones that are satin, ones that are flat, pressed, loose. It's kind of going to be a wild card if you're new to this and just testing out products and testing out those powder foundations and just finding the right one for your skin type. I am very selective on mine. If you have been watching my channel for several years now, I keep about 3 in my just personal makeup collection that I love and that I use frequently, and the most frequently used is obviously my bareMinerals Original Powder Foundation. This one not only was one of the first, but I think the reason that I love it so much is because it has this very radiant finish to it, and I think that's why a lot of people mistake it for being a liquid a lot of the time. Again, you know your skin type better than anyone. Just kind of analyze and research. If you're a little bit more on the combo to oily side, then generally a pressed powder foundation might work better for you. Those formulas tend to be more mattifying. If you are on the normal to dry side, look for something that is more luminous, like the bareMinerals Original. You just got to test until you find the right one, but once you do, it will be a game changer. So I'm going to go ahead and apply my bareMinerals Original, and I just use the brush that they kind of market with this product. It is now the Beautiful Finish brush. A long time ago, it was their Flawless Finish brush. A brush definitely is a big key factor in applying powder foundation. That's also something you kind of want to play around with. I know a lot of people use brushes that are just a little bit too loose. They're not dense enough, and then they don't get the coverage. Sometimes people are using something that's meant for liquid foundation, like, a buffing brush. That's also something that is, trial and error. You just got to test things out until you're happy. But I will say that this brush is really nice. It gives me the coverage that I want, super soft, and I just really like the control and the size of it. The brush, again, is kind of like a trial and error process. So I'm applying my bareMinerals Original, and I have done countless videos on how to apply this properly. I'll do a quick recap. Mainly, the one thing you want to keep in mind is the more you buff, the more emollient powder looks on the skin, the more it blends in with your natural skin oils. And actually, the bareMinerals Original actually melts into a cream when it becomes warm and blended really nicely onto the skin. It actually does turn into a cream. So that's why a lot of people mistake my powder foundation for a liquid. So yeah, no matter what powder foundation you are applying, just keep in mind the more you buff it into the skin and the more you blend it into the skin, the more natural it will look, the more emollient and radiant and just kind of like creamy it's going to look on your skin. I know that's a weird way to describe it, but if you need a recap on how to apply bareMinerals in particular or press powder foundations, I'll have all of those resources, all of those videos I've done in the past in the info box. All right, so very minimal effort. I feel like I am already at a level that looks very similar to a liquid. It's very radiant, very healthy looking, but I do have a couple other tips that you may not be incorporating into your routine that could help you out. I've already bronzed my skin. I just use my regular powder bronzer. One thing I love doing, I mean, I do this 90% of the time that I wear powder foundation, is actually layering a couple of cream products on top of my powder, and more specifically, my blush and my highlighter. A lot of people think layering a cream on top of a powder is a big no-no, but there's no rule book that says you can't do it. And if you do it in a very light-handed manner, it actually can just like completely set the look off. So I am going to take one of my favorite cream cheek products. This is, if you watch my channel, you know, the Nude Sticks Lip and Cheek Pencil. This one is in Whisper. It's just a very neutral nude color. We're just gonna go with a very soft vibe today. And I just take a little bit on the back of my hand and then a little blush brush, and that is what I use to apply my blush. Nothing crazy, just the really creamy texture of this adds that skin-like texture, skin-like look back into your face. And I think it just provides something that sometimes a powder blush just can't give. So already, because that is a cream product, it adds a natural glow to the face. And again, that's just something that you miss out on when you just continuously layer powders on top of each other. So I think by adding a cream in a very soft manner just gives this realistic, almost 3D vibe that you have, a creamier, more emollient product underneath. Now, you could stop here. This is, for me, enough glow for, a daily look, but I am going to add just a little bit of highlighter on top. This is MAC's Cream Color Base and Hush. And again, I'm just going to use that same brush and just very lightly, I'm going to apply that on top. I don't sweep with the product because that's obviously going to disturb the base. So I just really lightly tap on top. So again, a little bit of a closer look so you can see, very radiant and very healthy looking. If you are combo oily and you feel like adding those cream products on top is just a little bit too much, don't worry about it. If you have natural oils that come throughout the day, that actually will aid in making your powder foundation look a little bit more real. So just go ahead, use your general blush, your general powder highlighter, not a big deal. I will say my final step in any, no matter how little or how much powder foundation I use, I always set with some type of setting spray, especially if I go with a heavier layered powder foundation, something like maybe my MAC Studio Fix. Always use a setting spray. This completely can transform any powder foundation once you have applied it and you feel like maybe I look a little bit too powdery or maybe I look a little bit too flat or matte. Go in with a little bit of spray, honey. Actually, a lot of spray. Sometimes I literally bathe in this and it can completely tone that powdery look down and give you, again, a very real natural look. All right, so just added a little bit of brow, lash, and lip, and I feel like this is a very similar look to how all my powder foundation videos end. This is a very solid routine for me. Very, very simple. I feel like powder foundation is overcomplicated a lot of the times, and it's been given this not everyone can wear it. And that's true. I mean, it's not for everyone, but I think that everyone can at least make it work in some fashion. So I hope these tips helped. If you have any questions for me, feel free to leave them down below. I'll have all of my powder foundation playlists, videos, references in the description box, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.